in the past, it was, does this feed my ego? And I would just do things without really looking too far ahead. Is that the best choice for myself, my family, the business, or am I doing this just out of ego? I can see that now, looking back on it.
Welcome to Reward, the podcast of The Trust. We are the show specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to build businesses into the multi-million-dollar revenues and beyond, but especially because we know the reward is much greater than that. I'm Allie Brown, and I'm excited to introduce you to these diverse female leaders from a variety of industries, women making huge impact and who are unwilling to settle for the status quo. On the web, visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there. Now, get ready to enjoy this episode's powerful conversation. Hi, welcome to Reward. This is the podcast of The Trust, where we interview incredible women leaders who have built 7, 8, even 9-figure companies. But it's not really about the revenues. It's something we like. We like revenues, but it's about the rewards that are immense from building these ventures, becoming the leaders that we're becoming, and all the impact we have on others. I can't wait to get into a discussion with Emily here. Emily is founder and CEO of Ideal Wellness and Shift Set Go. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things today, but I'm going to leave it to you, Emily, to describe more about your business and what it does.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And so what I am is a weight loss company, and we originally started back in 2011, officially formed a business back in 2013 as Ideal Wellness. And then as we just continued to evolve, grow, we are physical brick and mortar location. So it's weight loss clinics or centers that people physically come to meet with their coach. As we continue to evolve, we changed it to Shift Set Go. So all of our clinics now, which was a massive undertaking in 2022 of merging and rebranding all of them, signage and everything. That's whenever I see other companies now that do that, I think, oh, it's such a cost of doing all those signs and everything, but well worth it because we were able to, be under one umbrella now. So all of our marketing efforts help. What we now have is all of our wholesale clinics. So we have clinic partners throughout the country. We have probably 60, 65 that offer our Shift Set Go program to their client base or patient base as well. And so that's kind of why we decided to merge it, do it all as one so that we're not, double doing it every time we have something new that we're launching or something to do. And it really streamlined our business. So the overarching is that we are a weight loss company though.
I remember being so intrigued by when I met you, the fact that you had physical locations, because those of us who've been working, virtually and kind of, the whole consulting coaching world and being online for years, I'm like, oh, it sounds so sexy to have we have physical locations. And tell me why the brand started that way.
Yeah. And I remember that conversation too, because I believe it was the week before COVID. And I had this novel idea that we'd do virtual coaching that year. Oh, maybe we'll dip our toe into this whole online world.
It wasn't even a thing for you.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. But there's value to the physical centers. Why did you decide to launch it that way?
It was the model that I knew. So like I said, we started back in 2011. And at that time, I had been managing a chiropractic office for many years. I think I ended there at about a 10-year run. And so that's just kind of what I knew. I thought, okay. And, internet was obviously a thing. Facebook was barely a thing for me. So that's just not how I knew how to build a business, just not from experience, of course, because this was my first real business. But just from seeing how it worked, patients came into the chiropractic office, had their service, and off they went. And because we had products, it just made sense that they would come in, they would meet with me as their coach, they would get their products, and then I'd see them next week. So it honestly didn't even cross my mind to do anything virtual until honestly 2019, 2020.
Right.
Well, behind the times with that. But brick and mortar just worked really well for us. And it's a really great way to build that know, like, and trust. And have something that's helping, that is our marketing, right? A lot of our
Yeah.
clients come to us, literally one of our drop downs, how did you hear of us, is drive by or walk by,
Wow. It's almost worth having like a
because they
fake
see it.
store, like
Yeah.
like a fake
Not with rent
storefront that,
these days, but
hey,
yes.
yeah. But and you get that built-in visit, right? Where,
Mhm.
they can pick up additional products if they're there. There's no barrier to that. They don't have to order them, right? So
Mhm.
I'm still fascinated with things that are physical in person. I still love direct mail, things you can touch. So that's why I was
Mhm.
like, oh, it must be so cool to design a space and design the
It is
flow of when
fun.
they come in and what the
Yeah.
consultation will be like. And also it was a local business, which made sense at the time for you
Yeah.
and building the centers. And so tell us about the evolution of, and it is funny now to think back, because I think you were on a call with us in the trust, even we're trying to figure out, like, that was a moment, by the way, all of you. I launched the trust in January 2020, this organization that was originally going to be based solely on live gatherings. We weren't even going to have Zoom calls in the beginning, because
Mhm.
I was thinking already people were Zoomed out, let alone today, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then, the whole COVID thing hit and everything shut down. I'm like, all right, let's get on a Zoom. We need to talk. What is going on? What's happening in the world? Let's all talk about our businesses and changes and help each other. And that was a call. I know that we focused a lot on you, because we're like, oh my gosh, Emily has places that the doors are now locked, like
Yeah.
people cannot come in. Tell us what you did during that time. I know that you talked about it a lot. You don't need to talk about it too much today, but just that was the
Yeah.
beginning of, though, some pivot points for you.
Absolutely. That was our, jump both feet into this whole novel idea of virtual coaching. We
Hmm.
thought, okay, maybe by the end of this year, 2020, we will launch this. And I'm certainly not a perfectionist, but I do like to have things a little well thought out. It's not something I would have launched in 1 week's time, but we did at that point. We had just launched our wholesale program in January of 2020, and we just had very few accounts, and they were kind of helping us get up and running with it. So we had not even built out our online shopping platform. It was basically like an Excel form I had sent to them. They would put their order in, we would process it,
Wow.
ship it. So to take that from, 10 accounts or so, to then have to take our hundreds of weight loss clients and put them virtual with all of my coaches who also are now at home. And they did all their virtual coaching from home during that time, getting them all up with Zoom. Most of my team is not super tech savvy. So, having to do all that. Luckily, my husband is our CTO, if you will. So he figured all that out, and we kind of band-aided some stuff together, and the clients were very forgiving. So in hindsight, that was kind of the best way for us to launch it, because everyone was in this forgiving mood, and let's support small businesses, and let's
Yeah.
help them with all their efforts that they're trying to make this work for us. And I mean, now it looks completely night and day different with the tech stack we have to get our virtual coach stuff rolling. And that's just, it's as if it's another clinic for us now, with the number of virtual clients that we see, because we can see anyone in the United States now as far as shipping goes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the product part of the business now, is that's a big part of it, and the wholesale is a huge part of your
Mm-hmm.
business for the
Mm-hmm.
products. So,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, tell me about that.
Oh, so we decided, when we first started the business, it was just me, myself, and I. I was using a third party program. So they said, here's our weight loss program, here's our product. And at the time, it was in a lot of chiropractic offices that I knew. So I thought, okay, this will work well where I'm at here. And it was not something that I envisioned now here 12 plus years later, that this is what it would have become. But, just kind of evolved over time. Stacked on all my locations kind of through 2017, 2018. And then 2019 decided, this company that we've tied our ship to, they could sink. They already were not in line with us, just with our values and where we wanted to go as a company. And I wanted to own my future. I didn't want to be tied to something that could, who knows what would happen. And all my locations are tied to that. So we decided, let's cut them out and let's do this product thing and this program on our own. So figuring out, you know, the manufacturers to make all of our products. We probably have 100 SKUs. So inventory
Wow.
management is a giant ordeal. We have a warehouse that we got in 2020, you know, because it's basically distribution. We have co-packers do stuff for us, send it to us at our warehouse, and then we distribute it to these wholesale clinics. But I thought if I'm doing this for my clinic, there was a lot of people and connections I had in the industry that I knew would want to do something similar to what we were doing. So that's why we
Mm-hmm.
decided let's make this wholesale also.
Yeah.
And it's just, it works so well for us and we're already doing it. And I'm just someone that loves to share and consult. So other clinics I was already working with, they were able to say, okay, you're doing this. How do I do it? And so that's kind of what brought wholesale on, was to say, here's how you do it. Here's my exact playbook. And they just kind of plug and play.
Yeah. Now, are these meals or supplements or both?
Everything. Yep. So we have about, oh gosh, 65 maybe meals, and a client would do three of our meals per day. So whatever combo
Are
of
they
their taste
frozen or what
preference,
is it?
palate, lifestyle. No, they're all shelf stable. So it could be a protein bar, it could be a soup, it could be a shake,
Okay.
um, you know, that they would cook up, or they could literally just open and eat it, kind of a ready
Okay.
to go
Not like
type
the
of
old
thing.
Jenny
And then
Craig,
we,
which just said goodbye forever, right? I was thinking of the old Jenny Craig
yes,
meals because like
goodbye forever.
all our moms in
No.
the 80s tried like the whole neighborhood was doing Jenny Craig and the meals looked like crap. And I'm always like, Mom, like I don't know why you're eating
Yeah.
this stuff, you know. Um
No,
looking
it's
at
come
that
a long way.
actually, what do you think of the demise of them? Were they just so behind and so corporate and slow that they couldn't keep up with people's taste and what people were looking for in
I,
wellness?
d- I don't even know if it was only the food. A lot of people, and taste and the quality of our food is at the very top of our list as far as our priorities. We want to make sure that people are enjoying what they're doing, because this is going to be, most of our clients, we call her the 50-50, usually are about 50 years old with about 50 pounds to lose. So that's not a overnight situation. This isn't a crash
Mm,
diet. You need to be in it. So you need to enjoy it. So, you know, having really good food for us is really important. I know other weight loss programs out there, it maybe isn't as important. You know, but usually if people are driven and this is their goal of weight loss, they're going to be able to make it work. So I don't know, they just might have gotten in too far over their heads with locations, because as much as we like our physical locations, there is that balance there, because it is huge for overhead. And especially now that we see how we can serve so many more people virtually, you know, we're going to continue to keep our physical locations. But the Emily of 2018 and 19 would have told you by now, I would have had 20 or 50
yeah,
locations.
that was the goal, right? That was the scorecard
Yeah.
for how successful you were at that
Hmm.
time. It's all changed
Exactly.
now.
Hmm. Yeah. A
Okay, and I have a
hundred
secret kind
percent.
of
Yeah, we
fun.
actually
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we actually closed one of our physical locations in December of last year. It was difficult for us to get to. Literally, it was on an island, so we had to take a ferry to get there. And I had a team member who was, you know, kind of moving on back to a social worker career that she had always had, and our lease was up, and we just thought, you know, is it worth it to get a new coach out here? Because our coaches are so important. They're crucial to the success of our company. You know,
Mm,
it's not a Starbucks. I can just pop another barista in there. So it has to be the right fit. I was like, do we really want to invest all this time and energy and effort into somebody that might not be a good fit, with the rent trying to go up, with all the overhead, with getting the product out there? And we ended up just taking those clients and moving them to our virtual side. So
hmm.
it's not something I would then shut down all of my clinics, but you know, it's easier to kind of evaluate now and say that's fine if we close that, because we're just going to take these clients on virtually. They're still able to shop on our website whenever they want, and they still get access to really great coaching. So,
Yeah. The question is though, are they honest with their weigh-ins?
well, the virtual,
Yeah.
I was going to
The
say, in
virtual
clinic, I mean, we
clients.
have these big professional grade scales and they're
I
stepping on them.
know.
There's no lying there. We do have a scale we send them, because we have an app and everything that it connects to. So
Oh,
I guess
wow.
unless they're saying, oh, my app isn't connecting today, that
Yeah. They could
they could get out of it.
enter your own weight.
Yeah.
I always just wondered that. I'm like, cause I remember in, oh gosh, you know, I did probably like many of us, like I did Weight Watchers at one time, and just, those times where you like needed to really get a handle on things. And I remember
Yeah.
going in for the weigh-in. Like, I mean, I was in my 20s or
Hmm.
something, but I remember going in for that weigh-in was everything. Like you'd be in line with all the
Yeah.
women and like getting on the scale, and like
Hmm.
it was like the determining moment. Now we're so much more evolved with wellness, and we know it's not just weight, and there's just so many
Yeah.
factors. But I just remember that
Hmm.
being the big defining moment. Like you would know
Yeah.
that week. Um, let's talk about working with your family, because it is a family business. Your husband
Hmm.
Adam works with you for better or worse, right? Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Some of us have been through that before, and your kids, your family, you do things. It seems, in my observing you and getting to know you over the last few years, you do things or are happy to do things differently than most people. If it suits you, if it matches your values
Mhm.
and how you want to, run your family and grow your business, you'll make those decisions. Have you always been that way? And let's talk about that.
Um, yes and no. I definitely, the Emily of when I was building my business originally, 2015, 16, 17, I was actually working corporate at the same time, for the same industry and everything. So everything tied
Mm,
together. But I was very ego driven, very go, 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 very, I'm going to get to the top. Again, that idea, I'm going to have 20 clinics, 50 clinics, 100 clinics, I'm going to own the world. And probably in 2018, 19, really scaled back. I left that position in 2019 is when we launched Shift Set Go. Um, just kind of everything did a 180 and thought, okay, now I'm going to be home more. Because at that time we had a nanny. I was gone all day, every day, driving up and down the state to take care of all my accounts. So would I do things my own way? In certain aspects, yes, but definitely more so now. I feel like we've kind of come into our own as a family more and decided what's important to us. I love all the things with my kids now, whereas in the past it was just, that typical you're working 12 hours a day, you're gone all day, the nanny's doing half the stuff for you, and you're just exhausted. So
yeah.
now I'm able to go. My son does track. We're at his track meets all the time. All my kids' activities and just enjoying this whole stage that we're at
In
in
fact,
life now while
today we moved the
slowing
interview
down the
because
business.
you're going to be at the school with your kids, right? In their
Yes.
school doing like a business project, right? And you get to do these things.
Yep. Exactly.
Do you
Yeah.
want to talk
And
about
and
your
I enjoy
kids?
it now. In the past, I would have kind of, I don't want to say dreaded it, but I would have thought, and in the past too, my kids were in public school, so it was like, ugh, the PTA meeting is tonight. Those weren't things I look forward to. I was just checking the boxes that I need to do this, I need to do that. And so now it's more, what do we as a family want to do? What do we as a family
Yeah.
value? And so now my girls are in a new type of school. It's kind of student-led entrepreneurial school, based on Acton Academy. And they have that same philosophy there. So it's nice to kind of have the worlds intertwine, as that's how we live our life. And that's what they're doing all day, every day at
Yeah.
school also.
Yeah. And how has it been bringing your husband into the business? Was that a big decision, or were you always like, "Oh, we'll do this for sure at some point"?
It was a big decision for him and okay, what are you waiting for me? So it was kind of okay, when we make this much revenue, you'll quit. Oh, you didn't quit. Okay, when we make this much revenue, you'll quit. Oh, you still haven't quit. So,
Why
yeah,
and
so
why was it?
I
Was it
mean,
the benefits, or was it you think he,
I
definitely
think
liked what his
he's
thing?
more risk adverse and I'm more a risk taker. And to me, everything will always work out. It might not in the
Mm.
moment, but I just have always had that internal faith that whatever it may be, I don't know what the path will look like. Like I told you 10 years ago, I wouldn't have envisioned my business like this. And that's the path it took. So that's the path it took, but it worked out. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My entire family are entrepreneurs. So to me, it just wasn't a risky thing, but to him it was. And he had that good union job for the county, did have the benefits, all the perks. So it was a job you don't quit. So being
Did
able
people
to
think he
quit
was
was a
crazy?
big
Like
deal for them.
did the people
Absolutely
around him,
crazy. Hmm.
were they like, "Dude,
Hmm.
what are you doing?"
Yeah, all his coworkers, they just couldn't believe it. Like, you're gonna go work for your wife? And like, what in the world?
For weight
But yeah, it's worked
loss?
out. We
Yeah.
work well together. Yeah, for weight loss, like what? This doesn't make any sense.
Have there been some times that you think that he should go back or get his own thing going again?
Sometimes, especially where we're at in the business now, there was a time where we needed him a lot. I basically joke that I handed him this duct tape of technology and said, okay, here you go. Here's what I figured out so far. And
Mm,
him going, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. And so he had to kind of start from scratch and build everything for us, especially the way all the clinics are networked. And now with the, online and the virtual, everything we have going on. But yeah, he's dabbled more in the last 6 months into kind of some of his own new ventures because he does not need to be in the business 40 hours a week. We do work literally together at our desks here, but we have another office up on this floor that he can go into, and it's his music studio, but he can do other things in there. So it is nice if we need a little break sometimes that we can physically be in different spots.
what does he do for music? Remind me. I think you told me once.
Oh, well, he is a drummer. He's in a band that we now joke is the dad band that he's been in for about 12, 13 years. So they play, a few times a summer now. They play for a nonprofit that one of them runs for like different events for that. And then he has the whole music studio because he used to do a lot of recording and stuff for people.
I love that. I
So
wish I
now
could
it's just
find a
all
mom
set up
band.
like that.
Like I want to set up like the Go-Go's
Yeah,
here, the Go-Go's of Scottsdale or something. Like I
there
miss
you
being in music.
go.
I don't think I knew that actually. That's I
Yeah.
always learn things from these interviews, even though I talk to you all the time. Um, One thing that came up when we were talking on the pre-call for this, and I was kind of, hearing more about your story and like these decision points where you had information, not complete information. We never have everything, but it was enough for you to bank on and say, okay, we're going to take a risk. And you just mentioned too that your partner's more risk averse than you are. That you're definitely that's kind of your OS. You just kind of work that way.
Hmm.
Maybe it was your family. Maybe it's just who you are. Tell me more about the whole risk reward and what makes you decide to go forward with something. What do you need to see or feel to know it's the right thing?
Yeah, it's definitely what do I need to feel, not see. In the past, it was, does this feed my ego? And I would just do things without really looking too far ahead. Is that the best choice for myself, my family, the business, or am I doing this just out of ego? I can see that now, looking
Mm,
back on it. So now when I come across these things, we could have re-signed that lease and not closed down a clinic, but my ego doesn't matter anymore. It's what do I feel, and I felt that was going to be best for the company. And so even moving forward, my theme this year is partnerships. So we're doing different things, partnering with different companies, just to kind of elevate our brand and partner with more clinic partners, things like that. And then sometimes things will come along that maybe again for that ego based decision making could be great, but really looking at it and going, how do I really, really feel about this? And have said no to quite a few things because they're just not going to be the best fit for us, the business, or maybe our clients. And being able to do that now, it just, it feels so much better. Like where we're at in business now, I just feel really, really good about it. But yeah, I think it's just because, like you said, it's my OS. It's not anything I've ever really had to think about, and it just go on a feeling. And so now I just make sure, is that feeling aligned with good, or is that feeling aligned with ego, and making sure I go
yeah.
with what is good.
I think many of us have been through that shift in the last several years, or this just chapter of our career, in that it is so much clearer now, like what you're interested in and not interested in, and what would be in the past the metrics you would measure your success by. So, and it's your
Hmm.
transition is kind of a micro for what's happening in a macro way, is that companies are realizing that the past metrics, number of employees, like, right, makes a company look good, right?
Yeah.
The number of
Hmm.
locations, like these, and even revenues can be a false metric when you're
Hmm.
looking at profit. It
Yeah.
depends like what you're trying to do with the company. And so, getting so clear on what the metrics are that matter. And it's been so interesting also having all the women in the trust. We're like over 50 members now, and I get to know everyone really, really well. And we all have different metrics for measuring our success. But what's really cool is
Mhm.
that I see at the stage of our careers now and the ages that many of us are at, it's very clear and we're very confident about those metrics for ourselves, right? And for some of them, they would never want a physical location. For some of them, they want to do things around the world. For some of them, they're scaling in a hurry and don't need necessarily the profit right now for certain reasons. Like there's just
Mhm.
so many different ways of approaching
Yeah.
it. And one thing I love about you, Emily, is you've always been just so clear about what matters to you, and you make decisions very quickly because you'll come back and very quietly be like, "Oh
Mhm.
yeah, we decided to close that location. We're doing this. We're doing that." There's no agonizing over things.
Mm-mm. I'm
Where
very
do you get that
decisive.
from? Where do you get that from?
I don't know. That's probably just part of my OS too. Just I've always been very decisive. I don't have to. Again, I think it's that feeling, right? I don't think a lot, and that sounds bad, but I feel a lot. So I can, if someone says, here's this opportunity, I can within about 2 or 3 seconds go, "Ooh, no," or "Ooh, yes, tell me more." But I
Mm,
do now have kind of the knowing of if I go, no, I'm going to hear them out and figure out, oh, maybe this could be because sometimes, first impressions aren't always the best impressions. But yeah, I think that's just kind of an internal thing. One of my traits that I've always had, always been very decisive with things. It actually kind of now when I do think longer on things, I think, well, why am I thinking so long on this? What was my first reaction? I need to just go back with that and
yeah.
trust my
It's interesting to
intuition.
go back and remember because we always remember. We'll remember what we felt
Yeah.
when we made a bad decision and
Hmm.
like didn't listen to ourselves or vice
Yeah.
versa. What was your family's business that you grew up in?
So my grandpa, my mom's father, he started a sheet metal business. Yes, very sexy.
Yeah.
So everyone said, "Why didn't you take that over?" I said, "I just told you it was a
Well,
sheet metal business."
let me tell you why.
But my mom and dad took that over and they just sold it here a few years ago. So they would do custom precision things for, one-offs for companies. A lot of it is what my grandpa invented was the glove butler, which is when you go to the doctor office, you'll see in the metal box, which is now plastic. They do a lot of plastics that the gloves slide into,
Oh,
that holder.
yeah.
Yeah. So they would make those. So
And you
that
get to
was
pull
their
out the
their
gloves
medical
one at a
division.
time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a Kleenex box
So
for the
then
gloves, kind of.
exactly. Yep. So then all the products that spawned from that they had and big medical type companies would purchase from them. Those would be their customers.
And what did you see growing up with how they ran a business and what that took and how they did things?
Hmm. I remember to this day one of my kind of false beliefs around money is that running a business is hard. And it's like, it doesn't actually have to be hard. But I realized, after all this time, it's because that's what I saw. They had their high ups and their low lows because their business was cyclical too. I remember my dad will still tell the story of when they had to lay off like 100 employees. I mean, that's devastating. I'm sure now I'll tell my children the story of when we had to close for COVID and, things
Hmm.
like that. But for a long time thinking, to run a business is hard, and in reality it absolutely could be, but it's not. But also as a kid, learning work ethic, I started working there in their shipping department at the summer I turned 15. Got up at 6:30 a.m. every day, or was at work at 6:30 a.m. every day, worked 40 hours a week all summer, so just learning the value of hard work as
Hmm.
well, having that, which my kids have to do a little bit now too
Was there
with our
ever a
family
point that you
business.
saw what they were doing though, and you were like, oh, I never want to be like that? I know for me, watching my dad was in he owned a construction company and was gone.
Hmm.
Now looking back though, I'm like, I wonder if he just left in the morning to get away from all of us. Like I was always like, he worked long hard hours. I think he was like, bye.
Yeah.
Now I get it, with kids he's like, oh, I gotta be in there at 7 a.m. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
um but I saw this like hard work and toiling and like sacrificing and suffering, and so it's funny for me, I never was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It just never was a thing. I never thought of myself as
Oh,
a business owner until I became unemployable and realized, oh, these jobs are
yeah.
terrible. Like I can't do I can't contribute ideas, and I have nothing's being listened to, and I'm smarter than half these
Hmm.
people. And like, it happened out of frustration, but that's so cool that you saw them doing things, really well and some hard things, but you saw them doing really well,
Hmm.
which I
Hmm.
think gave you
Hmm.
like this good foundation. So,
Yeah.
um, when you hear the word reward and relate that to everything that you've created and are still creating, what does that mean to you?
To me, that really just feels like where we're at now in life, that this is the reward of all the hard work that we've put into it to have the business that fuels our life, really kind of other rather than the other way around. So there's a lot that I really wouldn't change. I just read a book called The Measure. It's a just a fiction book. I read fiction nonstop. And it's about everyone in the world got a box delivered one morning and a string was in it, and that's the measure of your life, and they come to realize that's how long you'll live, essentially. So if you got a string and you find out you're going to die in a few years, how do you live differently now?
Mm,
And so reading that book, thinking, okay, how do I apply this to myself? There's not really a lot I would do different. I love our life. I love what we're doing. We have some really fun, different new things coming up that kind of fulfill me, because I feel like we've made it this far in the business that it doesn't need me 24/7 working in it. So we just started a nonprofit. So kind of what
wow.
direction will that take? Tied to the business, in that realm, it's Nutrition Education Foundation. So,
Yeah.
still for what I'm passionate about, starting a new business with another member of the trust, Sarah Brown.
Oh, wow.
So just, that's the reward now, is that being able to get where we got in business can now do all the different things I'm passionate about. So, like I said, reading that book, the only thing really I thought I would change, if my string did say, you got 2 years left, I'd pull my kids out of school and we'd travel and
Oh,
just,
yeah.
you know, but I wouldn't do that now because I don't know that that would be as responsible. And we still travel enough that it can satiate me and we can have those experiences, but because I want them to go to school, of course. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you thought you were dying in 2 years, I mean, like, you'd be like, Adam, figure out the bills later. Like, we're
yeah,
traveling.
exactly.
You'll pay the bill, this giant Amex bill from our 2 year trip.
Exactly, when it comes back in two
And
years
you'll be like,
when the
bye.
card stops working.
Yeah. He'll figure that out later. But we wish you a long, healthy life, Emily. Don't worry.
Thank
What
you.
a
Me
cool
too.
story though. That's interesting. I've heard, a lot of creative entrepreneurs share that they read a lot of fiction. And I think there's something to
Hmm.
that. I think it gives you new ideas and new ways of looking things.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just get so bored of business books. So
I know it's so funny because I can't, I was at the newsstand at the airport the other day, and like 10 years ago I would have been like entrepreneur and success and fortune, and now I'm like, I
same.
got like Joanna Gaines magazine, I'm looking at like home stuff and like recipes. I'm
Yeah,
like, I need to like clear my mind, and so some fiction sounds like a good thing
exactly.
for me. I think I need some more fiction.
Hmm.
But
Oh
any
yeah.
last words of advice for everyone, the women listening, building their
Oh,
businesses?
just keep going with your gut. You can't skip any steps. I always looked back at, starting my business when it would do, getting to six figures and then getting to seven, thinking there was these secrets out there and things that people knew that I didn't know. And, now, like I said, starting a new business, we can do it at a much faster pace because we know the right moves and the wrong moves, but there still is not skipping steps.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to put in all the hard work and get to where we want it to be. But there's not a secret out there other than, make sure you're with, like the trust, other like-minded people that can help you along the way. I wish I would have found a group like this when I started out or when I had hit the seven-figure mark. I mean, your group wasn't here yet, but this has been invaluable to me to be around other like-minded women.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks, Emily. And where can
Thank
everyone go
you.
learn more about you?
So our clinic is Shift Set Go, so shiftsetgo.com. I don't really do anything on social. I do have a Facebook and Instagram. It's just my name, Emily Countryman, so you can find me there, but you won't find much.
We envy you because she's
Yeah.
off living the dream. I love it. Thanks,
Yes.
Emily. So I brought Emily back, and if you see us on video, you'll see that I have different hair, a different face, and a different top. And so does Emily. because there was something actually kind of brewing during our last interview that Emily was not really able to talk about yet, but we were kind of alluding to it. And Emily, I'm like, we have to have you back to talk about this because I think there are a lot of business lessons in this move that you made that a lot of our listeners can learn from. So why don't you walk us through the big, bold moves that you just made with something that we mentioned on the show prior?
Yes. Well, as with many probably in the weight loss industry, we heard that Jenny Craig in May filed for bankruptcy. And, at first you kind of go, oh, because they're such a cornerstone, they're an anchor of the weight loss world. Them Weight Watchers, they've been around for 40 years. So you just don't really think something like
Wow.
that is going to go under, right? But when it happened, I saw a couple other, the big weight loss companies posting different Facebook ads of, hey, customers, come here. And I thought, there's more to this. It's not just, okay, great. We can, grab a few of their customers, a little bit of the market share, but knowing the way Jenny Craig was set up, so similar to how my business is set up with brick and mortar locations throughout the United
Mm-hmm.
States. Also knowing that, yes, many of it, I want to say about 85 to 90% of the United States locations were corporate. So the minute that they filed bankruptcy, they were done, closed, doors locked, employees gone.
Mm.
No salvaging that. But many still, well, the 10% or so, which is about 50 locations, were franchise owners. And
Mm.
knowing, my business is not a franchise intentionally. I don't love a franchise. Some are great, but you just don't want to hook your wagon to something that you don't have complete control over, in my opinion, which is
Yeah. It's
why we
very
are not a
regulated.
franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's regulated on my end. If I was, the franchisor, it's regulated on their end. And, again, if something happens, you think 40 years down the road, you're good to go, but it could go up in smoke. And they were kind of left holding the bag of, okay, they are on the hook for their lease. That is their lease, not Jenny Craig's for their location. They're on the hook for their payroll. Those are their employees, not
Mm.
Jenny Craig's. They're on the hook for their retirement and, their career trajectory. They were not a corporate employee. So I did a lot of digging and found some of the franchise owners, which led me to they joke that she's the ringleader of the franchises. They had a kind of a group of them because there's, again, not that many. Together, they own about 50 locations.
Okay.
And just said, hey, I feel really terrible for what happened. I assume you're on the hook for your lease. You want to take care of your clients too. Most importantly, is that they didn't want to just fold and say, "Sorry, clients, we're done here." And I said,
Right.
"I think I have something that would be a really good fit for you." And the silver lining is, I think it's better. In the
Wow.
long run, I think you're
How'd
gonna
they
like this
respond when
better.
you first reached out? Were they almost like
Hmm.
feeling like I would be concerned, like I don't want to come across as like predatory or
Yeah.
like kind of like the ambulance chaser of
Yes, I know. And I felt a little that way. And that's not my style at all. So it did feel a little weird, but I thought, I got to at least try. And I did really feel like I was coming to them with a solution, not, well, hey, what's your client list? Can you send it to me? Hey, what, it wasn't like that at all. It
true,
was,
right? You weren't
hey,
trying to
I
get their
think I can help
customers.
you. Mm-mm.
Yes.
Those are their
Yeah. So
customers,
how did the dialogue start? Did you guys say, great, let's get on the phone or what happened?
Well, I found one person who said, I'm not who actually replied to me, which was shocking, right? I didn't know how many am I going to have to reach out to here. And she said, I'm not the right person, but talk to so and so. So I went to person
Mm.
two, who also responded because, of course, I name dropped person one, sent me to you. She said, I'm also not the right person, but talk to so and so. So the third person was a franchise owner, and so that person said, oh, yes, I am the right person. And then they started looking into our website. So she connected me with another franchise owner, who I then actually had to call because she sent in her information to me, like through our website, to be a clinic.
Hmm.
And she didn't respond to my email. And so I called her the next day and she goes, oh, it's because my emails all got shut off, So it's just kind of a lesson for
Wow.
me is, keep being, taking all those next steps. Again, not a sleazy salesperson, but just they might not be ignoring you. They just can't get a hold of you at that
So
point.
true. Like at face value,
Hmm.
you may think, oh, I'm bothering them. They're not responding.
Hmm.
Their email was shut off, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
getting in touch. Oh, I'm so glad you called. So it was very well received. Had a phone call with each of them separately, and they were really loving what I had to offer and said, do you mind if we share this with all the other franchise owners? I said, yes.
Wow.
That's what I'm here
Yeah.
for. And so we ended up getting on a Zoom, and there was about 20 plus of us all on there. So I presented to all of them what we have to offer, how it would fit their current model without having to, because a lot of them couldn't get out of their leases either. So it's either they
Wow.
personally continue to pay, or don't and go bankrupt personally, or find a solution. So it was just kind of a good fit for both of us, that I had such a great solution for them, that they can just kind of roll into offering shifts at go and make that
Yeah.
transition really smooth.
Yeah.
So, they won't all do it. Some are actually going to close because they maybe didn't have a personal guarantee on their lease, or were at the end of their lease. It just kind of depends on their personal situation. But as of now, we have about 15 of the locations coming on
Okay.
board with us. And so that'll kind of
Wow.
transpire over the next month or two. So by late summer, they'll all be fully shifted.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you think that everyone listening can kind of take something from this for what they do in their business?
Hmm. I think it's just looking, where can you serve people, right? So not necessarily what's in it for me, where's my opportunity, but when I saw all that, kind of thinking ahead down the road, okay, well, there's franchise owners here that are stuck, and I related to that so well, being someone that has brick and mortars, leases. I'm in charge of everything for the business. Financially, it's on me. But then
Hmm.
seeing, what's next for them. They can't just stop. I mean, they could, but that'd be pretty financially devastating. And knowing that they probably care about their clients the way we care about ours. And if something happened tomorrow, we would continue to figure out how to serve our client. So, for other people, it's an opportunity like this is going to look so many different ways. But I think it's a matter of just going for it, and going at it with a helping mindset of, how can I
Yeah.
help you? This is something that I can help you with, and it will help your clients. And I think they saw that. And one of the first things I said on our large group call is, I said, I know trust is going to be a big, big deal to everyone, and hopefully I can earn your trust, which obviously I've
Wow.
been able to and can continue to. But just kind of putting yourself in their shoes, being really empathetic. But I think we see it in every industry. Something is moving and changing and going for bankruptcy every day, in all the different
Yeah.
industries. So, just kind of looking at that as a whole, saying, well, what will happen? Yes, all these corporate stores are closed, and you can do Facebook ads to try and get the one client here, the two clients here, but where can you actually do the most help? And it's going, up here and helping them help all of their clients. So I think
The
it's going to turn out
interesting
really well.
the interesting thing I want to point out too that just kind of occurred to me is this approach was so simple, it was
Yes.
direct, and it was a bit behind the scenes. And as
Hmm.
I'm, I've been coaching clients for so long, and I often see them somehow, and we all do this at times, we unconsciously choose the most complicated, common type of formula that we just see everyone else doing. So for example, like you said, the mindset shift, instead of like going, okay, usually you'd see is like, okay, they're going out of business, let's grab all their customers, right? So pump up the ads. Like like I'm sure there's like just
Hmm.
weight loss ads everywhere, like pump up,
Oh,
like
yeah.
everyone was doing that. And you're just like quietly doing little research
Hmm.
and reaching out, and
It
now
was
you
very
have
behind
like
the scenes, for
15
sure.
franchise owners, like very quietly. So
Hmm.
the what I want to add to that for everyone listening is like, is there a direct, simple path to the goal you want that may not look anything like the way you think it should look, or you have been told it should look, or you've been programmed to think it should look?
Hmm.
And go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. People would rather like hide behind 17 webinars than make a phone call. And
It's make a phone call. Just literally,
oh
that's
my
what I had to do.
gosh,
I mean, yes, I emailed a little to find the right avenue, but then I just literally picked up the phone.
right, right. It still happens. People mail things
Mm-hmm.
too. Like
We do sometimes.
I just had a whole conversation with a client around she has this amazing award-winning book and things like this. And we're like, get this book. She said, well, if people get the book, things happen. Like leads come in and like, I'm like, get the book in more people's hands. Like get it in
Hmm.
influence, like just, get a direct mail campaign going,
Yeah.
futz all this stuff that's going on over
Uh-huh.
here. Right. So think about that direct channel. And Emily, I was so excited when you mentioned this. I think it was at the trust meeting. I was like, I
Hmm.
was like salivating, like, this is amazing. So I'm so glad we could have you back to talk on it. And so,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to see what's to come with all of them. And now some Jenny Craig will be Shift Set Go, and I'm really excited about that. And for
Awesome.
their
Yay.
clients.
All right. We'll see you in September.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Subscribe now to the Reward Podcast to be sure to not miss an episode. And don't forget to visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. You can learn more, apply to join us, or refer another woman you know who is over the $1 million mark and is ready for a different type of women's network. We have events coming up both live and online that are truly creating new possibilities for female leaders. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there.